Alrighty. Welcome in, everybody. Soldier, congratulations on first there. Let me give you a shout out before we get the ball rolling.
That's gonna be me. I have a feeling.
Oh boy, it's this clip.
It's probably me.
I don't know why it favors this one with you.
Oh.
Whenever I do shout outs for you, we get this one pretty frequently, it seems.
Somebody in chat clip that!
Okay, now we're on 3, last man standing.
Oh gosh.
Alright. I hope everyone is doing well today. Our plan, as per usual, will be opening here very briefly with our opening prayer here in a moment. After which, we'll be hopping into our Bible reading, our verse of the day today coming from Proverbs 19:20 through 21. And then we should carry on with the book of Psalms, with Psalms 44. After which, we have a new game to play for a little bit. It won't take us too long, but we'll play it for a little bit and enjoy ourselves. After which, we might watch some videos or play another game, don't know, while we wait until it is time to join Rico for the collab. Yes, Valmont, you are late. Soldier beat you to first. Upside, your song's playing, so, you know. Trade-off, I suppose. I do so enjoy that little dance one. I really want to get like one of those of Krill or something. That'd be hilarious. But who knows? I'm gonna give it another minute, see if anyone else sneaks in here or if there are any prayer requests. After which, of course, we'll get the ball rolling. Need one that's a possum? I mean, fair enough. Guess you have to make your own channel. That way you can have your own set of emotes. Guess you gotta become a streamer. It's as simple as that. There's no solution other than it. But alright. As it seems there are no requests at the moment, or no new requests at least, we're gonna get the ball rolling, we're gonna get started. And we'll figure it out as we go. So let us get started, shall we? Heavenly Father, we come to you today, and as we do, I ask that you open our hearts and our minds, that you provide us wisdom, guidance, and discernment, that we may better understand the lessons that it is that you intend for us to take from today, whether they be found here in the good word, or they be found in our day-to-day life in some interaction, some conversation, whatever it is that you choose to teach us. Just give us the insight that is needed to make use of it, that we can better ourselves. I ask that you continue to provide a refuge for us, a place where we can gather with our fellow Christians, where we can refresh and renew ourselves. We live in a world full of temptations, tragedies, and enemies all about us that would see us torn down, led astray, that would lead us away from the path that you have set out before us. And I ask instead you just grant us the strength that is necessary to overcome each and every one of them, that we may continue that walk alongside you. I ask that you lay your healing hands on each and every one of us. You know our personal struggles, whether we've admitted them out loud or not. You know what we need better than we do sometimes. So we pray for the wrong things without understanding, and I just ask that you grant us what it is that we need and the understanding to understand what we need. Above Although I ask for your mercy and for your forgiveness, for we are not but sinners and fools, each and every one of us, and that your will be done in our life. In your heavenly name we pray. Amen. Alrighty then. Let's see. With our opening prayer done, our verse of the day today, Proverbs 19:20 through 21, from the King James Version of the Bible. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in the latter end. And there are many devices in a man's heart. Nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. Ain't that the truth? The Lord's counsel will stand. Even though we sometimes, we're not always the best at following that counseling that we receive. In fact, I'd say most of the time we're quite poor at it. But it always holds true. We're just weak and imperfect, and thus we struggle to stay to it sometimes. Our lives are infinitely better, though, when we do. Now, though, for continuing with the reading from the book of Psalms, Psalms 44, to the chief musician for the son of Korah, Maschil, I don't know. We have heard with our ears, O God. Our fathers have told us what work thou didst in their day, in the times of old. How thou didst drive out the heathen with thy hand, and plantest them. How thou didst afflict the people, and cast them out. For they got not the land in possession by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but by thy righteous hand and thy arm, or thine arm, and the light of thy countenance, because thou hadst a favor unto them. Thou art my king, O God. Command deliverances for Jacob. Through thee will we push down our enemies. Through thy name will we tread them under that rise up against us. For I will not trust in my bow, neither shall my sword save me. But thou hast saved us from our enemies, and hast put them to shame that hated us. In God we boast all day long, and praise thy name forever. Selah. But thou hast cast off and put us to shame, and goes not forth with our armies. Thou makest us to turn back from the enemy, and they which hate us spoils for themselves. Thou hast given up like sheep appointed for meat. Thou hast given us like sheep. Okay, I see what I said. And hast scattered us among the heathen. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and dost not increase thy wealth by their price. Thou makest us a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and a derision to them that are round about us. Thou makest us a byword among the heathen, a shaking of the head among the people. My confusion is continually before me, and the shame of my face hath covered me. For the voice of him that reproacheth and blasphemeth, by reason of the enemy and avenger. All this is come upon us, yet we have not forgotten thee, neither have we dealt falsely in thy covenant. Our heart is not turned back, neither have our steps declined from thy way. Though thou hast sore broken us in the place of dragons, and covered us in the shadow of death. If we have forgotten the name of our God, or stretched out our hands to a strange God, shall not God search this out? For he knoweth the secrets of the heart. Yea, for thy sake are we killed all the day long, We are counted as sheep for the slaughter. Awake, why sleepest thou, O Lord? Arise, cast us not off forever. Wherefore hidest thou thy face, and forgettest our affliction and our oppression? For our soul is bowed down to the dust, our belly cleaveth unto the earth. Arise for our help, and redeem us for thy mercy's sake. There's several lines in here where it's like, no, the way you're even approaching this subject is wrong, and no surprise that you find yourself in this place. Let's see, where was it? There was one line in particular. Thou sellest thy people for naught, and does not increase thy wealth by their price. I'll be honest, this one accusation leveled at the Lord by the prayer here, by the Psalms here, this one accusation should be enough for that man's head. It's a bold thing to say. It's an almost insane thing to say, to try to lay that blame at the Lord's feet. And it makes it one of those, like, some of these psalms are very much ones of lament, but you can still see, because at the end of the day the psalms are mostly prayers, you can definitely see here a man with very worldly views, despite what he says otherwise. There's some taint in the words here. Some things that, no. Don't say that. Don't try to put that on him. That's never a good idea. Rebozo, welcome in. Valmont, but here's the thing with your thing earlier about Rico. He only will have so many of those slots. It's actually a very limited number, typically, that Twitch gives us, especially animated ones. Those are, like, you get a couple of those for hitting, like, significant levels. So they're at a high price, hence why it'd be easier for you to just have your own channel and have them. It's as simple as that, my friend. Talking about emote slots, yes, she wants a dancing possum, and I am saying that she needs simply start her own channel, and then she can have it. Be quite simple. Have to forego a dancing possum? No, because I still have the evidence of your earlier claim that if you should finish your book, then you shall start streaming. So it is an inevitability at this point, and you may as well just accept your fate. There is no escape. That's okay. The book will get done. It'll happen. I believe in you. Now, we're going to play a game that... Actually, hold on. We're the only person streaming this game. I'm kind of shocked. Okay, let me make sure that it's capturing the audio. If it'll let me out of here so that way I can check that. Good lord. Of course it's not. 1 second. Let me... Alright. There we go. It's not a book that you're reading. I know. I said you'll finish the book, though. I know you will eventually. I didn't say anything about reading. Now, though, So this is Project Gunship. It is a very well-made game based off of the AC-130s. So you take the role of an AC-130 crew, and I do so enjoy it. And I figured I'd show it off a little bit on stream. There's not a whole lot to play, so...
looks like the downed helo is right there to our front.
I see it, but I don't see the... Wait... I think the crew is in the third compound north of the helo. I can see their IR strobes, and it looks like they're getting surrounded by the tally.
Okay, let's get comms with Spartan and start engaging anyone with a weapon outside of that compound. Let's also get that compound marked.
It's marked. Should see it on the sensors. Spartan 2-1, Spectre 1-1. Armed. Spartan 2-1, go. We arrived in the AO and have eyes on the down helo at grid location 01783.
That's right, you better run, Taliban. Get away from my helicopter pilots.
Looks like the air crew moved south from the helo about 200 meters to the nearby compound.
Deliver me from iniquity and save me from
Spectre 1-1, copy all. Reach out when we get close. Out.
awake to help me and behold.
Give me the big gun. Run, Mr. Taliban.
Two arms.
You shall not get very far, though. Alright, so... clearly our mission here, that is the helicopter crew for that downed helicopter over there. And all these people around it are the Taliban, so... Our job is not let the Taliban do the Taliban thing. There we go.
And one armed.
Let's see, where's that land?
Gun 3 armed. Gun 2 armed.
You better run. Oof. That was a little dicey. We landed a shot inside the compound. I'm glad we didn't hit the crew.
Gun 1 armed. Gun 3 armed.
Okay, so that's my big gun. Ooh! Well, I am shocked we didn't hit the crew with that one. Goodness gracious. Well, we knocked the building down, but
Gun 2
at
armed.
least they lived. That would have been a wildly unfortunate way to lose the helicopter crew.
Gun 1 armed.
military as well. Like, none of these guys can do anything to retaliate against me. I am just...
Got 3 armed.
I am almost a force of nature against them, and they just kind of have to accept that if I decide to aim at them, they're probably going to die.
Got 2 armed.
And unless they've got surface-to-air systems, like, then there's nothing that they can do to retaliate.
Got 1 armed. Got 3 armed. Got 2 armed. Burned him. Got 1 armed. Got 3 armed. Got 2 armed. Check the compound. Target's danger close. Got 1 armed.
Y'all are gonna have to shoot him. He's too close for me to shoot.
Got 2 armed.
That man. There we go. That man probably didn't feel real lucky, but he was real lucky there for a while.
Got 1 armed. Got 2 armed.
I didn't just kill those friendlies. I'm entirely honest. That's it. That's it. They keep getting too close to my friendlies. I don't appreciate it anymore. I'm gonna stop holding back on my fire. Like, I'm trying to be reasonable with the ammunition that we're using right now, but like, we were. But now it's just like, no. You all have gotten a little bit too close to killing my friendlies there.
Got 3 armed. Got 1 armed. Hey! Got 2 armed. Got 1 armed. Yep, that's direct. Direct on that guy. Got 2 armed.
I'm making it less a suggestion to stay away from my my friendlies and more a biological need at this point to stay away from my friendlies.
Got 1 armed. Got 2 armed. armed. Got one armed. Good impact. Got two armed. Got one armed. Got two armed. Got three armed. Got two armed. Got one armed. Got two armed. Down, correct.
Will you just die already?
Got one armed. Got three armed. Got two armed. He's fighting!
There we go.
Got one armed. Got two armed. Got three armed. Got two armed. Got one armed. Fighting! Got two armed. Got three armed.
We're actually not doing so hot on ammunition. I'm just now realizing
Got one armed. Got two armed.
that one's completely
three
empty
armed.
at this point. So now we're down to the big gun and the Gatling.
Got two armed. One armed. Nailed him. Got three armed.
to coordinate where the shots are actually landing versus not. Because I have it set to where it's doing it the realistic way instead of, like, there's a mode that you can have turned on where it'll land the shot basically where you're pointing it. But this is supposed to be the mode where it's, like, accounting for drop and wind and the orientation of the ship, the gunship, so, but I'll be honest, there are some times where, like, I don't know what indicators are supposed to be telling me where, like, what any of that information is. So I'm just kind of having to eyeball it and hope that I can land the shots. Especially with this gun, this shell's a lot heavier, so it kind of does its own thing a bit more.
Targets are in the compound. Hit them. Got 3 target. Got 2 armed.
Yeah, I don't think that our crew down there would be appreciating me firing those shells so close right
Got 3
now.
armed.
Because that's a big gun that we're firing down into there, but, like, again, I don't know what any indicators are that are supposed to be telling me, like, what my orientation is compared to the ground, so I'm just kind of eyeballing things. Which you probably wouldn't want to hear from the guy that's firing cannons towards your position. That he's eyeballing it.
Targets into the compound. Take care of them.
I know I certainly would be thrilled to hear it. I definitely think I'd be getting some angry messages about how close those shells are landing. Even with, like, how far out I'm putting some of these shots and they're still landing in the compound. Like I said, I don't know what my indicators are that I'm supposed to be working with here. None of them mean anything to me. So I'm just kind of looking at them like, yes. The wumbo is tilted. And the dots over there with the arrows pointing at them are pointing at dots. I don't know. God only knows what any of these mean to me. I also don't know why it hasn't initiated the next part of the mission. Like, they're staying there so long, I'm going to run out of ammo before they reposition, and then I'm not going to be able to cover them. Because I won't have any ammo left to use to cover them with.
Got 1 armed. Got 3 armed.
they pray to, they're probably wondering why he's mad at them.
Got him.
Because we are throwing some hate downrange.
Armed.
Most of it's debatable on how accurately it's landing, but... Inside the compound again. Goodness gracious.
Gun one armed.
I might have to change it back to the normal targeting, because I'm going to be real honest. Like I said, I don't understand what anything is trying to tell me. So I am just whiffing shots right now.
Gun 3 armed.
Okay, that's a bit better. They still need to do their reposition, because like if they stay in that compound for a whole lot longer, I will unironically end up running out of ammo up here to help them with. If that happens, like, good luck to them. I preferred guns already out of ammo, so I'm using the other two now.
Gun 1 armed. Gun 3 armed. Gun 1 armed. Right on target. On 3 armed.
There's almost a comedic amount of ordnance that has been thrown downrange at this point.
And 1 armed. Target center to the compound. And 3 armed. Good impact. And 1 armed. And 3 armed.
That fella is built different.
And 1 armed. Got him. And 3 armed.
I'm starting to wonder if something didn't fire correctly. That's the only thing I can assume at this point, because those guys are supposed to, at some point, leave that compound and go somewhere else, and they weren't. They decided they weren't doing it, so we're gonna go to a different mission, because we've already burned through most of our ammunition, and they haven't moved an inch, and it's just like, well, now what? Why aren't you doing the thing you're
Ripper
supposed to do?
3, Spectre 1-1. We're
Let's see, which
1
button
flying
is
out.
it to change my... There we go.
Copy that, Spectre 1-1. Before we move out,
Flashbang
I'd like to
out,
get some eyes on that area. Can you push the target compound and provide some recon? You got it, stand by.
We'll probably keep it on,
Now, have you already
on
set
white
the
hot.
target point on the compound?
Yep, that's marked.
Perfect.
Also noticing there's information on the edges of the screen that are like going over the edge, and I'm wondering.
Not really seeing anything. Was Intel expecting this place to be guarded?
I thought so.
Look, the door just opened. Three guys just exited the building. I don't see any weapons on them.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't see any guns with these three. Terribly unfortunate. Can't open fire if there are no weapons.
2 of them just got in that vehicle. They started it. They are moving now.
Okay, let's give Reaper a sit rep.
Reaper 3, this is Vector. Send it. 3 individuals just exited the main building in the target compound, and 2 of them got into a vehicle. They are moving down the road towards the east. Copy. You see any armed personnel around there?
Other guys going back inside.
Negative. We haven't seen anyone else in or around the compound, and the 3 individuals do not have weapons. Copy. Monitor that vehicle and see where it leads to. We suspect there may be Taliban strongholds around here that would provide QRF to that compound break. Maybe that vehicle will lead us to one. Roger. We're on it. Just turned. Now it's heading west.
so abruptly turning that I'm just like, hey, whoa, you can't just do that. You're throwing my camera off, bud. I'm trying to track a target here. Of course, I don't think this is typically what you use an AC-130 for, as they're not exactly a
He's staying on that outside road
hard
heading
to
west.
spot plane. They're fairly fat planes. This is more something you'd want a drone for observation like this, but I get that we're also on call because that convoy over there is going to be raiding that compound. So this is more just a coinciding. We're being forced to do this because they're acting unusual at the compound. That's our target.
He stopped. They are getting out. Reaper 3, looks like that vehicle stopped at the compound just south of the target compound, and they've exited the vehicle. I'm not seeing any personnel at the compound right now.
Roger. Let us know if anything changes there. We're heading out now.
Okay, crew, missions a go.
Does that mean I have weapons free? No, I don't. Very sad. They won't let me shoot. Now those guys look like they got guns.
You see that?
Yep.
They're coming out of that south compound. 2, 3, 4 personnel. Looks like they all have weapons. Reaper 3, Spectre 1-1.
Send it.
We've got movement at the southern compound. I count 4 personnel have exited, and some of them are armed. They're getting in vehicles now.
Copy. Hold your fire until I clear you to engage. I don't want to go out until we are on target. Halted here and we'll wait to see where those vehicles go before proceeding.
Solid copy.
You
Man.
heard him. We aren't cleared to fire until he gives us the go-ahead.
Man.
Reaper 3, they are heading east back towards where you are.
Roger.
And then there's that convoy of our guys down there. It's like MRAPs, maybe? Look too big to be Humvees, so that must be what they are. That'd be the only other thing I could think they'd be running.
Reaper 3, those 2 vehicles just turned south and are heading away from you now. You should be clear to move in.
Copy that. We're moving out.
Nav, keep an eye on those vehicles. Let's have the other sensors overwatching the team.
Roger.
Interesting thing, as far as I'm aware, this game is being devved by one dude. Like, there's one man
Spectre
making this
1-1.
game, and that is
As we
it.
approach this compound, we need you to be keeping eyes around our perimeter ring. We'll set up a cordon around the compound with our gun trucks, but we'll need you to intervene against any QRF force ring. I say again, you are cleared hot on any hostiles that are approaching our cordon.
Yeah, baby!
Copy all. We're cleared hot on any hostiles approaching your cordon.
That one armed.
Okay, guns are good to be slaved and armed now.
You heard it here, folks. They said that weapons are hot. That means we get to shoot. If anyone comes out of these buildings down here and starts approaching their position, they're gonna get shredded. That's the compound, I think. That's the one that we were looking at earlier where those fellas came out of. Looks like the gunfight has started down there, so this place will probably get active here in a minute. Already looks like its door is open. What the heck?
Gun 3 armed. All parties, making Copy.
Oh wait, no, now the door's open. That was weird. It looked like it was opened already, but that definitely was just someone swinging a door open down there. I see guns. I perish.
Got 2 armed. Got 3 armed. Got 2 armed. Spectre 1-1.
Send it.
Got on mid. The compound is confirmed to be what we thought. Great. We need some time to process things down here. Keep up the support.
Roger, we're on it.
Got 2 armed.
Just make it as unpleasant for them as they're approaching our friendlies down there as we can.
Gun 1 armed. Got 2 armed. Got 1 armed.
I don't know what kind of trucks those were, but if you're driving up towards where a gunfight is, then I can only assume you're hostile. And it looked like there were guys in the back, so at least in one of them it looked like that. The other one looked like it might have had one of those machine guns put in the back, the Dishka type. But hard to say. All I know is they were heading up the hill towards our cordon, which means that they're a target. Because if you're a civilian and you're driving towards all that gunfire, I don't know what to tell you, bud. You weren't meant for this world. Those guys, they turned and ran the moment that the gun trucks lit them up. There we go.
Got 1 armed.
Good impact.
Got 2 armed.
Guess I didn't need 3 shots. That first one smacked him dead on.
1. We're all good down here. We'll be pulling out. Appreciate the air support.
Roger.
Nav, do you track where those first vehicles went?
Affirm. They left that truck on the side of the road to the south. What are you thinking? Possible V-bid?
Yeah, let's reach out to command on this one.
Okay, wait one.
So they think that one right there, that truck, is just a bomb.
They gave the go-ahead to destroy the place.
Copy. Let's get over there. You guys are cleared on that as soon as we have good firing geometry.
I don't know what that was, but...
Wow, look at that thing there.
Yep, that was that was definitely a bomb. Trucks don't blow up like that. Alright, this would be the next one, I think. Yeah, because we just did the raid, so ambush is next.
Spectre, this is Reaper.
Send it.
Alright. Intel indicates a possible VP-IED on the hard wall up ahead, between those two groups of compounds. And we suspect it may be linked to a complex attack rate. We are currently halted about 500 meters southwest of that point. You're clear to engage all personnel that you can PID with weapons in that area, including vehicles that they may be using. Right?
I was gonna say, because I see people down there that don't
Be
know
careful with the munitions you use. We've seen a number of civilians moving around in there. Any collateral will get us both in hot water.
Roger, we're on it.
Okay, guns are good to be slayed and
So,
knocked
they said any target I can PID, so if I can see a gun, I can shoot. Why is the gun still misaligned? Come on.
Got two armed. Got two armed, one armed.
Okay, so we're gonna knock those right out the gate.
Got two armed.
I see RPGs with those dudes, so since ours is a vehicle convoy, it's like, you know, that's that VVID.
I guess Intel is right on that VP-IED. Report Spectre.
That dude just casually walking, but he doesn't have a gun, so I can't shoot him. What about you, bud? No gun? Okay. He's very chill. Some of these people are very chill, considering the town just started exploding a minute ago. RPG. No RPG now.
Got two armed. Got one armed.
On target. Right on target.
Unarmed, 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 unarmed. That right there, though,
Got two armed.
is a
Got one
Dishka.
armed.
Was a Dishka. Ooh, I see an AK there. hard to tell because of the tree, but looks like unarmed due to the walk pattern. Like they weren't walking like they were carrying a gun, you know? Oh, that's just a piece of something. Unarmed. Just a chunk of nothing. I don't know if there are any hostiles left. I don't see anyone else with guns. At least no one alive. Ooh, there's one.
Inspector Reaper.
I guess he was the last one.
We're Oscar Mike. Out.
I only used one AGM. Of course, it didn't seem like it did that much. It just killed a couple of those dudes, so I don't know what the point of that thing is. And then my favorite mission. This will be the last one we do, and then we'll go watch some videos instead. But I may or may not have played this mission a few times just to see how quickly I can get it done. Because if you blink, you might miss this one, y'all.
Ghost 02, Rifleman 01. Bandit. We've confirmed Taliban forces are consolidating in compound. Wait, what? That'd be compound 2-5 on the southeast side of the MSR break. Intel believes they are distributing weapons and coordinating an attack on the Marines in the area. We need to capitalize on this opportunity with so many hostiles in one location, despite the obvious potential collateral to Afghan infrastructure non-combatants breaking. You're cleared to engage all personnel within the designated compound, but you need to do this quickly. They're going to start squirting on engagement, and it may be difficult to PID targets once they have escaped that compound break.
So basically, that's a giant Taliban meeting down there. They're distributing weapons amongst their fellows to coordinate an attack. I have to smoke them before they can get out of there, because the moment I start firing, the moment they know that they're taking fire, they're gonna scatter and try to hide among the
Mission will complete once all hostile personnel have been killed. Out. Gun 3 armed. Gun 2 armed. Good heavily armed. Failed them. Gun 2 armed. He's dead. Ghost 02. Looks like you got them all. Good job. Out.
Yep. I've had one where no one made it past that first corner. Where, like, okay, we'll run it one more time. Just to see if we can get them a little bit faster this time, because the burst from the machine gun did not clear as many of them as I
Ghost
thought.
02.
So this is our Marine squad over here, I think. That'll get attacked.
We confirmed Taliban forces are consolidating in compound. Wait, what? That'd be compound 2-5 on the southeast side of the MSR break. Intel believes they are distributing weapons and coordinating an attack on the Marines in the area. We need to capitalize on this opportunity with so many hostiles in one location, despite the obvious potential collateral to Afghan infrastructure non-combatants breaking. You're cleared to engage all personnel within the designated compound, but you need to do this quickly. They're going to start squirting on engagement, and it may be difficult to PID targets got them all. Good job. Out.
One 105mm shell, and then 281 25mm, and 39 enemies dead with not a single one making it around that corner. That's a little bit better. There is also one scenario which is set during Vietnam, but I'll be honest, the Vietnam one, you only get a, you get like the green night vision sight, and that is rough. It doesn't translate very well in my book. Also, I do like this. This is every AC-130 gunship that has ever been lost in combat. The Arbiter, the Destroyer, Ghost Rider, the Warlord, Odin, Hellraiser, Prometheus, and Thor. I approve of them putting this in. Because these guys, like, I'm sure you can talk to any infantryman that has ever had a gunship on standby or in support of their unit, and they can attest to just how many lives that an AC-130 overhead can save. Just by being present, the amount of firepower it brings to a fight that can save an absolutely massive number of friendlies. Okay, I don't know why it did it the way it did that whenever it popped out. Because now I can't actually grab the top bar of my OBS, which is not good. But, oh well, I guess we'll just make do. Alright, though. We shall watch some videos for a little bit. Actually, let's see, where was it? I want to watch these two first.
This is one of the most isolated supermarkets on Earth. But it sure doesn't look like it. After all, it's in Hawaii, which, despite its name recognition and visitor count, is by most definitions the most remote major population center on Earth. There are more isolated islands and archipelagos and atolls, but nowhere on Earth is there a concentration of 1 million or more people farther from the next nearest concentration of 1 million. It's as far from Los Angeles as New York, as far from Anchorage as Norway, as far from Japan as Afghanistan. Between Hawaii and the California coast, there's truly nothing. No towns, no people, not even a single island of any size save for the few just off the coast of Los Angeles. The shortest commercial international flight from Hawaii is to a tiny atoll known as Christmas Island, populated by just 7,000 people, and that's an anomaly. The next nearest is to Majuro in the Marshall Islands, 4.5 hours away, but it's not until Fiji, a 6-hour flight from Honolulu, that the population comes even close to that of Hawaii. That's all to say, it's weird how normal this grocery store looks, considering where it is. Isolation typically restricts convenience, yet look inside and the shelves are stocked essentially exactly the same as they'd be if this was, say, a Safeway in Seattle. And not just with the shelf-stable products. Even these bananas originate from exactly where they would for most of the continental US. They've traveled from Ecuador so quickly, in fact, that they're not even ripe. It's not until one looks at the prices of perishables, $10 for a gallon of whole milk, that anything deviates from what would be the expectation on the mainland.
Good Lord Almighty.
Hawaii is firmly integrated
in the
American
we're getting
supply
towards
chain
that price
to the extent
too,
that
but
differences in its retail landscape are surprisingly
we're still
tough
not
to come
that
by.
bad.
Dueling chicken retailers Chick-fil-A and Raising Cane's, for example, recently expanded to the state, both of which have next to no international presence and therefore no built-up international supply chains. Neither has an overwhelming incentive to expand to Hawaii. It is an untapped market, sure, but there's nothing about the state that would make it worth it for either to develop a brand new system of sourcing and shipping product just to open a couple dozen additional locations. So this is as good a sign as any that somehow these isolated islands are so logistically linked to the US that it's just about as easy for a brand to expand there as anywhere in the US. And it's true, Hawaii's supply chain offers a near seamless experience for its users, the shops, restaurants, and other businesses operating in the state. But the supply chain itself is anything but normal. Much of its uniqueness stems from one American law known as the Jones Act. Its rules are simple. With a little exception, only ships registered in the US, built in the US, and staffed by Americans can transport goods between US ports. The original idea was to protect the US merchant marine and shipbuilding industries, partially to keep competency in case major sea lift capacity is needed for a large-scale war abroad, but these days this ends up being rather restrictive as the vast majority of ocean-going container ships are registered in countries with favorable tax and labor policies like Panama or Liberia, and primarily staffed by mariners from low-wage countries like the Philippines or India. What this means in practice is that the industry often ends up with exploitative labor practices, environmentally damaging construction processes, and other undesired externalities, but the end result is rock-bottom operating prices, a fraction of those of US ships. In fact, the cost of operating a Jones Act-compliant cargo ship is estimated between 3 to 6 times the norm. So in a free market, these ships simply wouldn't exist. They could never be competitive, if not for this law. The total number of Jones Act-compliant container ships in the entire world is just 23, and all but 5 of those are operated by one of 2 companies, Matson and Pasha Hawaii. This pair of companies represent the vast majority of inbound shipping capacity to Hawaii, and yet they likely would not exist if not for the Jones Act. That's because, even beyond the normally lower operating cost of international shipping companies, there's great asymmetry of demand across the Pacific. In September 2024, the average cost to ship a 40-foot container from Shanghai to Los Angeles was about $6,000, where shipping the same container on the same route in reverse, Los Angeles to Shanghai, cost just $700. That's all down to supply and demand. North America imports far more from Asia than Asia does from North America, so ships typically return west with far less. Hawaii is a rare instance of westbound demand across the Pacific, so if not for the Jones Act, some international shipping companies would likely add it as a stop on the return trip to Asia to drop off cargo on the typically unprofitable leg. But instead, Matson and Pasha Hawaii operate the services, charging far, far more to move the same 40-foot container. Now, their services do differ slightly from the global norm for container shipping, largely since, normally, container shipping is just not a very time-sensitive endeavor. Globally, cargo ships operate at an average speed of just 15 knots, despite a typical vessel top speed of over 20. This is since ocean shipping companies compete primarily on cost, not speed, and operating slower is more fuel efficient. Hawaii ships, meanwhile, typically operate at over 20 knots in order to transport goods to the state in just 3 or 4 days. Uniquely, these ships do compete on speed since they need to fit into the typical window of time it takes to get perishable products from distribution centers to stores. These bananas from Ecuador, for example, likely left the country on Dole's dedicated container ship, the Dole Pacific, up to their facility in San Diego. From there, they might otherwise spend a few days getting trucked to a grocery distribution center in, say, Salt Lake City, wait around for a day, then get trucked up to a grocery store in Missoula. So the route to Hawaii is not necessarily that much longer than that to an inland state. A day or 2 to get up to Matson's terminal in Long Beach, 4 days to get to Honolulu. West Coast ports like Long Beach and Oakland are major logistics hubs, and 3 to 4 day proximity to them is well within normal timeframes for distribution. What's less normal is the cost. Jones Act compliant operators have to pay high shipbuilding costs, they have to pay high labor costs, so they do what they can to reduce cost where possible. For example, on some sailings, they'll return to the West Coast at that slower, more efficient speed. On a recent trip, the Pasha George II left Long Beach on Wednesday, September 4th, sailed at 20 knots, then arrived in Honolulu 4 days later on Sunday. Following unloading and loading, it left Honolulu on Monday, but only sailed at about 15 knots and didn't get back to Long Beach until the following Monday, a week later. Hawaii doesn't export much these days, especially in terms of perishable goods, so this slower speed is fine. As another technique, Matson also services a unique route that helps capture eastbound demand and therefore maximize utilization as certain continue on to Guam. Guam is an American territory, and although it has far lower demand than Hawaii, both due to lower population and more international imports from nearby nations like Japan, it does still import plenty from the mainland. But after calling at Guam, Matson ships don't continue back to the US, they go on to the Japanese island of Okinawa, which also imports plenty from the US due to the massive US military presence there, before continuing on to Shanghai. There, the world's busiest container port, they've built a small niche as the provider of the fastest US-bound services. While most container traffic is not very time dependent, on such a massive route, there's clearly some. For much of recent history, Matson was able to provide this speed because their ships are comparatively small. Shanghai naturally is a fairly shallow water port, so the larger ships used by competitors couldn't load to full capacity there, and therefore they typically make another stop to load fully before continuing on to North America. Shanghai has since artificially deepened its port, making this less so the case, but Matson still touts speed due to faster loading times from their smaller vessel size, full 20-knot operating speeds, and then on the US side, they operate their own dedicated terminals at ports like Oakland and Long Beach, allowing them to avoid the kind of port congestion that reached headlines during COVID. In fact, freight rates reached such astronomical heights during COVID that, despite their high operating costs, Matson could briefly, meaningfully compete, especially given their speed, and they took some capacity away from Hawaii to expand service from Asia. But now back in normal times, strategies such as their Asia service are increasingly crucial for Matson as they get used to competition. After all, for much of its history, Matson enjoyed a near-complete monopoly on Hawaii shipping services, and Pasha Hawaii's challenge since it first started service in 2005 has pushed prices down and introduced genuine competition for the first time in a while. But monopolies still exist in Hawaiian logistics. You see, every single container from the continental US first arrives here, at the port of Honolulu on Oahu. But Hawaii also encompasses Kauai, Maui, and the Big Island, plus a few other more minor islands. So to get containers beyond Honolulu, one must hire a barge, and there's one and only one company that offers barge service between the islands, Young Brothers. Now, Matson does operate its own barges that connect some of its containers that originated in the mainland to certain other Hawaiian ports, but the only carrier that is currently allowed by the state to sell container transport between the islands exclusively is Young Brothers. The logic behind this state-sanctioned monopoly is that Hawaii can therefore require Young Brothers to service unprofitable ports in sparsely populated Lanai and Molokai. And the state also regulates the rates Young Brothers charges, but there's still an eye-popping sum. Transporting a loaded container from Honolulu to any of the other ports, which typically takes about a day, costs $1,412.89, as in twice what shippers are currently charging to transport the same container from Los Angeles to Shanghai. And it's not like there are other Jones Act compliant barge operators that could replace Young Brothers' service at a moment's notice, and the state knows this. When, in 2020, the company came to the state and said the rates they were allowed to charge would lead to a financial loss of $30 million, the state had essentially no option but to agree to a 46% hike in rates, lest risk losing their only way of getting goods between the islands. The state itself has admitted, in an audit of the company, that Young Brothers has gotten used to being able to pass on any increase in cost to the consumers, and therefore has little incentive to be diligent in reducing them. So when you combine the geography of isolation with federal and state legislation that restricts competition, one ends up with dramatically higher costs than those of the mainland. Compare the prices of the Whole Foods supermarket in Long Beach, California, closest to the port where much of Hawaii's goods originate, and that of the island of Maui. Now, one can find similar prices for certain shelf-stable goods. A bottle of olive oil is just $1 more in Hawaii, for example. But consistently, the fresher something is, the more expensive it is versus the mainland. Ground beef goes from $6.99 to $8.99. Cabbage from $1.49 a pound to $2.79. Lemons from 89 cents to $1.49. A pack of eggs from $3.69 to $5.99. As a state, Hawaii imports around 95% of its food. There is next to zero in-state production, and almost all of that food rides on one of two shipping carriers from the mainland, then one shipping carrier between the islands. There certainly are edge cases. A small portion of food gets flown in by plane, there are some imports from abroad, but in sum, there's incredible reliance on one single logistics system with uniquely, artificially high costs. But over recent years, state leaders have started to recognize that the downsides go beyond just costs. It's also just risky. You see, all mainland container cargo gets unloaded here at the port of Honolulu, with no exception. This is the only commercial port in the state that has the cranes necessary to unload the kind of large ocean-going cargo ships used by Matson and Pasha Hawaii. Those on the other islands are only capable of accepting and unloading smaller barges. So there's a single facility capable of bringing large quantities of goods into the islands, and it's on the coast. That means the fear is twofold: tsunamis and hurricanes. Either of these disasters could render
Fair.
the cranes used to unload ships inoperable, and even if they didn't, the ports are well within the possible inundation zones for either, meaning the surrounding infrastructure, like the roads used to bring containers out and staff in, could be flooded and damaged for an extended period. Having recognized this, the state did invest in a large portable crane capable of unloading containers, and that's stored at Pearl Harbor, the military base which is earmarked to operate as an alternate port in the event of Honolulu becoming inoperable. But estimates suggest this plan could only accommodate between 15 and 20% of normal cargo inflows, and as the recent incident at the Port of Baltimore demonstrated, disruption to port operations can last months. Of course, airports and roll-on, roll-off ships could provide a backstop for necessities in the event of major natural disaster, but the concentration of infrastructure in the Port of Honolulu means that if it gets damaged or disrupted, it could take quite a while for life in Hawaii to get back to normal. But it doesn't have to be this way. In fact, it wasn't. Some 100 miles or 160 kilometers and 3 islands over from Pearl Harbor, along Maui's dry west coast, just north of the sunny Keaka Beach, and bumping up against the manicured landscape surrounding the undeniably aging Maui Paradise oceanfront condo, is what visitors describe as a pleasant wading pool or a shallow lagoon within which one can see small fish and turtles up close. But what these reviewers missed was the fact that this is not just a convenience for tourists, but a historical artifact. A physical explanation for how ancient Hawaii fed itself for centuries before European contact and centuries upon centuries before the advent of modern container ships. This is a coastal fish pond, one of about 360 that dotted the Hawaiian Islands at the time of James Cook's arrival in 1778, and one of the last vestiges of an intricate aquaculture structure that stretched from sea to mountaintop. Now, there's two major natural particularities that broadly define the Hawaiian Islands. First, as a rugged volcanic outcropping, the islands are generally mountainous, with high points on the larger islands ranging from a few thousand feet above sea level to well over 10,000 feet above sea level. Second, they don't receive precipitation evenly. The high country and the north and east sides receive feet upon feet of rain annually, while the dry southwestern sides measure their precipitation in inches. Faced with rugged uplands and flatter but drier lowlands, Hawaiian agriculture took shape around holistic watersheds, letting gravity do most of the work. Following streams gushing out from the higher elevation forests, Hawaiians would strategically dam or divert sections to flood fields for non-native taro, a carbohydrate-rich dietary staple. The growing taro, in turn, would provide food and shelter for fish such as mullet and silver perch, providing yet more food and nutrients. Water released from these catchments would then flow into lower freshwater ponds where freshwater prawn and sea-migrating fish would spawn. In turn, these nutrient-rich waters would then fill brackish ponds, then seawater ponds, connected by canals and separated by gates from the larger ocean that would let smaller fish in without letting bigger fish escape. With comparatively minimal alteration of the landscape, and with only the strength of a human workforce, Hawaiians, through aquaculture supplemented with animal husbandry and traditional agriculture, achieved sustainable food sovereignty. Of course, it goes without saying that such a system was in part made possible by a markedly different property ownership structure, a subsistence lifestyle rather than an extractive one, and a feudal organization of labor that's long been left behind. But it also showed that without much in the way of technology, and with the strategic use of non-native crops, Hawaii could sustainably produce food for a population that's been estimated to have touched 700 to 900,000 inhabitants at the time of Western contact. There are only remnants of this aquaculture system left today. The arrival of Europeans and Western disease decimated native populations, while Western interpretations of land use and property rights culminated in the 1848 Great Mahele, a legal transition of land ownership from a feudal regime into private property. Not far from Kihei, in the city of Lahaina, once a residence of King Kamehameha III, now a city rebuilding after unprecedented but entirely explainable wildfires, and one of these historically central ponds sat under an unspectacular park and some tennis courts. And not so far down the road, standing 225 feet in the air, is another artifact that largely informed the pond's destruction. While the Jones Act may explain why food is so expensive to import, it's sugarcane and pineapples that begin to explain why Hawaii has to import food in the first place. For a concentrated few, the proliferation of steam-powered ships, the advent of the California Gold Rush, then the American Civil War, and the newly established ability to purchase Hawaiian land in the mid-1880s proved a bona fide bonanza. With cheap land, cheap labor, minimal oversight, and maximum exploitation, the rich arable Hawaiian lowlands turned from food producers to cash crop producers as the only agriculture diversity stemmed from what was being monocropped: sugarcane or pineapples. Peaking in the 1950s, the plantation era dominated Hawaiian agriculture for more than a century, effectively turning a self-sustaining, sovereign food system into a cash crop exporter. But with statehood came increased regulation and labor rights, and with the jet age came increased accessibility. Suddenly Hawaii wasn't some vague American holding impossibly far away, but now a tropical destination that didn't require a passport. With stricter labor laws and higher wages, increased competition for real estate, and increasing competition abroad, monocropping slowly ceded economic centrality to tourism. With a growing population and an increasing visitor count, Hawaii now needed more food than ever, and yet, after a century of relentless exporting, could produce less than ever. While some small Hawaiian farms began to infill shuttering plantation lands, the cheapest, fastest way to keep the islands fed was importing. With beef imports, fruit imports, and vegetable imports all doubling from 1960 to 2000, the islands went from producing somewhere around half their own food to less than a tenth. This rather new system has started to have some real consequences. The Hawaiian cost of living crisis is severe. It is the most expensive state to live in by a wide margin, and food prices are far from all of it. The housing market is perhaps the biggest contributor to the state's woes, with an $840,000 median home price, which of course is also the highest in the nation. Estimates suggest that 44% of households in the state do not earn enough to pay for the absolute bare bones of necessities. After all, much of the work available is low-wage service sector jobs relating to the tourism industry. So in consequence, Native Hawaiians, the descendants of those who've inhabited the islands for a millennia, are packing up and leaving the state en masse. In fact, for the first time, the 2020 census indicated that the majority of Hawaiians now live not in Hawaii, but on the mainland. But at least, finally, there appears to be some recognition that the way Hawaii feeds itself is broken. Over recent years, the government in Honolulu has started to put a concerted effort into returning things to the way they were, or at least moving in that direction. And the timing is right. Dole's Oahu plantation stopped production in the 90s and since has transformed into a tourist destination. Del Monte, another agriculture giant, finished its operations in the state in 2008, while Hawaii's last sugar mill, that of Maui, closed in 2016. So that means there are huge swaths of former plantation land now empty and available, and the state's trying to put it to use. Maui's former sugar plantation, for example, was purchased in 2018 by a company called Maui Pono, which has converted the fields into production of lemons, oranges, avocados, bananas, onions, and more. A diversified array of crops grown not for export, but rather to be inserted directly into the Hawaiian supply chain, hitting store shelves in Walmart, Costco, Safeway, and other retailers that otherwise would import from the mainland. And this fits into a concerted cross-government effort to convert plantation lands statewide. But it's really too early to tell whether this is yielding results.
I mean, that was
There's just not enough data yet, and local food production also isn't in and of itself a direct solution to the issues presented by the state's current situation. The cost of labor is still extremely high, so in many cases the cost of locally grown goods might be at par with outside products. The decrease in transportation costs is counterbalanced with the increase in production costs. But it's a start. Incremental progress towards reversing a century of reliance on the mainland. It's really quite rare for a country to hold land so far from its core. There are some instances, but most countries' land is contiguous. It's rarer still for that land to be organized not as a territory, existing in some separated class and enjoying some higher level of autonomy, but rather as a fully integrated component of the country itself, in this case, a state. But even among those, Réunion, the Canary Islands, and perhaps a few others, it is rarer, perhaps unprecedented for land so far from the country's core to be so deeply integrated, politically, economically, and socially, with the rest of it. It is therefore reasonable to conclude that this isn't natural. It's a uniquely American thing to attempt to interlink itself with a series of islands so far away. In some ways, this has worked. Just look at the strip malls and fast food chains and big box retailers. But in actuality, Hawaii was not truly interlinked with the US. It was conquered. There was an equilibrium. Hawaii was a self-sustaining society until America came in and broke that tenuous balance. Decades upon decades of economic forces have compounded the effects, and today the state's in an unsustainable state. Food, housing, everything just costs too much compared to the wages earned in the state. There's not yet some grand solution. Even increased local food production will take ages to induce meaningful change. But at the very least, the state now recognizes the problem. The Hawaiian kingdom may never return, but Hawaiian self-reliance can.
I was gonna say, like,
As far as
as I was listening to it, the whole time I'm thinking, they're like, oh, well, this is so unfortunate that they can't afford to produce food in their own land, but also all the land that was owned by the plantations is no longer owned by the plantations, so that land could be used for it. But there's no money for it, and I'm over here like, wait, isn't Hawaii, like, one of the highest recipients in terms of federal grants and the sheer amount of tax money they bring in through their exorbitant prices? And you're telling me that the local government there couldn't use that money to start doing, like, so in countries like Norway has a system where they own a bunch of oil fields. They pull the oil, they sell the oil, and knowing that the oil will not last forever, they have been investing that into a massive bank fund, essentially, that is meant to help sustain their economy forever after the oil dries up. But then hearing it where it's like, oh no, Hawaii they can't fix this problem. I'm like, you guys have the money, just create a program that focuses around using that exorbitant amount of money that you make to buy the land up, lend it, lease it, rent it, do whatever to locals on the premise of them developing these farming systems that you already historically have had and know how to make, so you can just use the blueprints of how they were made the first time and replicate it using modern technology, which make it more efficient, and ensure that this isn't a problem in the future. So it's just one of those things where it's like,
Hawaii is just about one of the most difficult to research and write a fair and accurate script about. With a long, proud history as an empire itself, and an even longer history as an independent culture and society that still persists to this very day, navigating and understanding current trends and news events like the...
It's one of those things where it's like, no, I understand the problem, and it's a problem that makes sense. But there's also a really obvious solution, you just have refused to acknowledge it until, like, the last 20 years.
What if I were to tell you that all of the energy you need to heat your home on a cold winter day could be found outside? And that if you could capture the heat energy out there and move it inside your home, you could make yourself comfortable using a fraction of the energy of other methods. Sounds impossible at first, doesn't it? If it's colder outside than in, what heat is there to take? But it's very possible, and thanks to heat pumps, we can do it right now. And that's what this video is all about. Heat pumps are simultaneously a very old, yet also emerging home heating technology. Using a heat pump under ideal conditions requires as little as 1/5 the energy of ordinary electric heat. With a coefficient of performance of 2.5 or greater, a heat pump will produce more heat for you per unit of fuel burned in a power plant than you could get by burning that fuel on site in your home. This tremendous efficiency all but guarantees that the heat pump is the heating technology of the future. But what is a heat pump? Well, here's where we need to talk about some terminology and also who the primary audience of this video is. I'm making this video mostly for an American audience because we've gone about this in a weird order. We've had air conditioning in a lot of homes, and cars for that matter, for a very long time now. Air conditioning has been more or less standard equipment in American homes for more than 50 years, even in a climate like mine where winters can be brutally cold. And in places like the southern US, air conditioning is practically a requirement for basic survival. And the thing is, air conditioners are heat pumps. Yet heat pumps, especially in regions like mine, are a rather new thing. Confused yet? Well, in some other parts of the world, what we call a heat pump is referred to as a reverse cycle air conditioner. and that should give you a pretty solid idea of what's going on. But because this wouldn't be technology connections without an explanation of the refrigeration cycle, let's get down and dirty in the nitty-gritty of latent heat and the magic of refrigerants. If you'd like to skip this part, skip to
7 minutes 38 seconds.
Let's start with a refrigerator. Nearly everyone has one of those. What does your refrigerator or freezer do exactly? Well, it needs to make its insides colder than its outsides. That's trickier to accomplish than it seems at first glance. It has to get heat energy out of itself. See, that's the thing about temperature. What we call temperature is really the concentration of heat energy in a given space. If there's a lot of energy crammed in a space, it's hot. If the energy is really spread out, it's cold. And thanks to entropy, energy always wants to spread out, or move from areas of high concentration to low concentration. This freezer's insides are at about 5 degrees below zero, but the room it's sitting in is much warmer than that, about 65 degrees. Because the energy around the freezer is more concentrated, ambient energy wants to spill into it, wherever there's a temperature gradient. Nature is hot and bothered, frankly, and would very much like it to achieve equilibrium, so eventually the insides of the freezer will warm up. We can slow that down by adding a whole bunch of insulation or tweaking its design. In fact, this freezer and this footage was featured in a video discussing that very topic. But eventually, we need to work to reverse this process and keep its insides cold relative to its outsides. And to do that, we use a heat pump. A refrigeration system collects heat energy in one place and disperses it in another. It pumps heat. We'll get into how it does that shortly, but the key thing I want you to recognize here is that even though the inside is very cold, there is heat energy in there. The freezer's heat pump is collecting it from a very cold place, yet in doing so, it creates warmth. The sides of the freezer get warm when it's running, and that's the heat it pulled from inside itself being rejected into the surrounding air. What makes this possible is a refrigerant. Refrigerants are gaseous chemical compounds with a particularly useful property: easy to manipulate boiling points. For example, R134A boils at 15 below zero, or minus 26 Celsius. That's quite cold, but here's a can of it. It's a liquid in here. How can that be? Well, like any chemical, its boiling point is affected by ambient pressure. You know how the boiling point of water is defined at sea level? That's because higher up in the atmosphere, where there's less atmospheric pressure, it's easier for water to boil. A rather crude way to think about it is that being under pressure squeezes all the molecules together, and that force provides an additional barrier to changing phases.
I'll be honest, I'm actually learning some things.
When there's less pressure, it can change phases a bit more easily, which lowers the amount of heat.
I had the general concept of how some of this works, but this is the first time I'm hearing like how refrigerant works the way it does.
To start boiling, and thus its boiling point. When there's more pressure, everything is held tightly together, and the opposite occurs. Its boiling point goes up. Because this is trapped in this can, it's under higher pressure and can remain a liquid. But when anything changes phases, it needs to absorb or release heat as it does so. This latent heat isn't something we can feel directly, but it is a tremendous amount of energy. For example, getting a given quantity of water to vaporize takes about 7 times as much energy as it does to bring it from room temperature to its boiling point. In other words, if it took 10 minutes to bring a pot of water to boil on high heat, it will take 70 minutes on top of that for it to all boil away. That extra energy is being used to free the molecules from their liquid phase into the vapor phase, but it doesn't make the water any hotter. This is, incidentally, the principle on which automatic rice cookers work. Another plug? Why, yes! How about a third one? We just saw what the release of latent heat is like in the reusable hand warmer video. Simply by falling from the liquid phase into the solid, the sodium acetate gets hot. Its latent heat of fusion is being released as it crystallizes, which means it gets warm, about as warm as its melting point. To reset it, you put a solid hand warmer in boiling water where, now that it's colder than its surroundings, heat will spill into it, causing it to melt. As it does so, it reabsorbs its latent heat of fusion, and thanks to the fact that it can be supercooled without freezing, it can store it for later use. Refrigerants, just like water and sodium acetate, have to absorb and release latent heat to change phases. What makes them useful is that thanks to their flexible boiling points, we can force this to happen and use it to our advantage. All we need to do is create a machine which allows us to manipulate the ambient pressure the refrigerant experiences. Refrigeration systems are nothing more than a closed loop of piping filled with a refrigerant that exploits its latent heat of vaporization to move energy. Using a compressor to create a pressure gradient allows us to force the refrigerant to condense, thus releasing its latent heat of vaporization. We can then force it to evaporate and reabsorb its latent heat. Do this in 2 different locations, and you pump heat energy across a thermal barrier. Now I'd like to show you what this looks like. Those of you that skipped to here, welcome back. We're still talking about how refrigeration works, but I wanted you back for this. Thanks to a student at Front Range Community College's Center for Integrated Manufacturing who had hands-on learning with these, I have some great footage to share of a refrigeration
Thermal
demo.
troubleshooting system.
This is used to demonstrate all sorts of refrigeration technologies and learn how to troubleshoot them, but for now, I just want to highlight the basics. Inside these pipes is a refrigerant. If you follow them, you'll see that they form a circuit. The compressor is the heart of any refrigeration system. It does pump after all, and it's right here. Hermetic refers to the fact that the black canister hermetically seals an envelope for the mechanical compressor and its motor to sit inside without letting the refrigerant escape. On the left and right are 2 heat exchangers. These are the evaporator and the condenser. They are also the condenser and the evaporator. See, they're labeled both because they are. This rig's operation is reversible, meaning whether the heat exchanger is an evaporator or a condenser is arbitrary. We'll see how that works in practice shortly, but what's really neat about this rig is that we can see liquid refrigerant traveling through it. Many refrigeration systems will have a sight glass like this, which is useful for diagnostics, but glass piping? That's a rarity. The refrigerant is only able to liquefy because the pressure in this pipe is fairly high. It first entered the compressor as a low-pressure gas, but being squeezed into the high-pressure side raised its boiling point well above the ambient temperature. The act of compression also made it quite hot. The job of the condenser is to cool it back down, and it does this by forcing air through densely packed metal fins attached to the copper piping. This forms a heat exchanger with a large surface area to help transfer heat in the refrigerant to the air. At this pressure, if the refrigerant were R134a, its boiling point would be raised to about 130 degrees Fahrenheit, much higher than the ambient air temperature. After exiting the compressor, it's hotter than even that, but airflow through the heat exchanger helps cool it down. Once the refrigerant has cooled to its artificially raised boiling point, it will start to condense. And as it does that, it releases its latent heat of vaporization. Now, even more energy is being released from the refrigerant, and it will stay near its boiling point until the gas has condensed into a liquid. The upshot is that the condenser gets very hot. But where did that heat energy come from? Well, some of it came from the act of compression itself. Simply compressing a gas makes it hot because you've squeezed its thermal energy into a smaller space. But most of it came from the refrigerant itself mere moments ago. See, after it's all a liquid, it gets held back by some sort of metering device at the end of the condenser. There are various types of metering device out there, the simplest of which is a capillary tube, and their job is to create a restriction in the refrigerant flow and thus maintain the pressure gradient we rely on to make this all work. Once the liquid refrigerant makes it through the metering device, it finds itself in another heat exchanger, just like the condenser. But here, the pressure is very low thanks to the suction on the input side of the compressor. What exactly the pressure is will depend on the refrigerants used and also conditions, but the pressure is low enough that the boiling point of the refrigerant will plummet to below ambient temperature. For sake of explanation, we'll assume it's 0 degrees. And here's the key. To boil, the refrigerant has to absorb its latent heat of vaporization. And now that its boiling point is below ambient temperature, it will spontaneously start boiling and get very cold. To boil, it initially gets the latent heat it needs from itself, which brings the remaining liquid down to the new boiling point. From there, it will pull energy from ambient air. See, now that it's colder than ambient air, energy from the air will flow into the refrigerant. Remember, energy always wants to spread out, and now there's a place that's colder than its surroundings for that to happen. Thus, the refrigerant is
Okay, so now I'm
absorbing the
curious. Does that mean that the liquid pump system that they use for cooling certain computers, I'm wondering, does that essentially work on the same principle, or is there theoretically a way that someone out there could build a computer that uses a refrigerating style cooling system to pull the heat off of it? And if so, I wonder if that would be more efficient than the others that we currently use, because I know there's air cool, where it's basically just blow the air onto the hot stuff and hope that it cools it off. And then there's the liquid, which, as far as I can tell, is essentially working how this is working.
energy from its surroundings as it boils. This heat exchanger is called the evaporator because that's what the refrigerant does. It evaporates in here and condenses over there. So, finally, here's where we get into how we make this work for us and why heat pumps are so cool. I mean hot. Hotly cool, or coolly hot. And why many American audiences may find this whole idea a little perplexing. See, a lot of us are used to energy flow in a refrigeration system going one way. We have refrigerators, which make their insides colder, and we have air conditioners, which make our living spaces colder. Refrigeration is for cold. See, here's an air conditioner. This is the condenser. That's the evaporator. The evaporator goes inside, condenser goes outside. Unless, of course, you have a portable air conditioner, but the job of the air conditioner is to take heat out. Duh. Here's a central air conditioner. This is the condensing unit. It has the compressor and the condenser. Heat comes out of here, and that's just the way it is. The evaporator sits above my furnace and makes the air colder, and 7 months out of the year sits pretty. Here's a mini-split air conditioner. This is the condensing unit, and inside is a self-contained evaporator and blower. But this is also the evaporating unit, and inside is a self-contained condenser and blower. This is reversible, and so is also a heat pump. This mini-split heat pump system has a different form factor.
Hello, Rebozo. We're learning about heat pumps. I'll be honest, he's lost me a couple of times. I think I've mostly kept up with it. Because he just spent like the last 10 minutes explaining how refrigerants work.
Conditioning system next to it.
And how we make refrigerators work and ACs work.
95% identical. There are some technological improvements found in the mini-split, like a variable speed compressor and more intelligent controls which help it gain efficiency. But fundamentally, the heat pump is no different from the air conditioner. It's a compressor, a metering device, a refrigerant line set, 2 heat exchangers, and a fan of some sort to force air through each one. The main difference is that the central system uses the furnace as its indoor blower motor, and the mini-split has one of its own in the wall-mounted unit. But the mini-split has one additional component that changes it from a cooling-only device to efficient year-round climate control. Let's start with a closer look at it. This is a 1.5 ton unit, or 18,000 BTU, or about 5,250 watts. The outside unit contains most of its guts and unfortunately is not.
I was curious about the water dripping off of it, but if it's from the roof.
Not that important though, as we can see the heat exchanger and refrigerant hoses. They're here and here. The fan forces air through the heat exchanger, which wraps around the side so we can see its piping and fins. The inside unit is practically the same thing, but it doesn't have a compressor, and the fan's a linear blower type thing. Lift this up, and there's the other heat exchanger, plain as day. The fan forces air through it and exhausts through this swinging vent guide thingy. The metering device also lives here. I believe it's a simple capillary tube. Please correct me if I'm wrong. In any case, it lives at the end of the liquid line, that's the smaller of the two, and is the very last thing the refrigerant goes through before it enters this heat exchanger. Sometimes. Let's get out the thermal camera and observe this thing. Note that the displayed temperature is likely inaccurate due to different emissivities of materials, but it's the visuals that are more important.
Smart speakers are energy vampires.
When it's not running, there is no pressure gradient, and the refrigerant pressures in both heat exchangers are roughly equal. In cooling mode, the compressor works to pull gas out of this heat exchanger and lower the pressure inside of it. This lowers the boiling point of the refrigerant, and any liquid refrigerant remaining in the heat exchanger boils away. This causes the heat exchanger to get very cold. In this mode, it's the evaporator, and the refrigerant absorbs latent heat to boil. It has become a thermal sink, and energy in the room is naturally moving into it, sped up with the help of the fan. That ultimately makes the air colder. Meanwhile, the outside unit is getting warm. The compressor is forcing the gas it just pulled out of the evaporator into the condenser. Under this higher pressure, its boiling point shoots up, way above the ambient temperature out here, so the refrigerant will condense inside the pipes. That makes this the condenser, and the very energy that just got absorbed inside as the refrigerant boiled is now being expelled out here as it recondenses. That heat energy was pumped from inside to outside, and that's what air conditioners do. But here's where things get interesting. Let's ask a simple question. What if the roles could be reversed? Is it possible to collect heat energy in the outside unit and expel it from the inside unit? That would be pumping heat, but in the other direction. Well, of course, it is absolutely possible and frankly stupidly easy to accomplish. All you need to do with a basic system like this is move the refrigerant through it backwards. That's it.
I was going to
Now, you
say.
can't just run the compressor backwards. Refrigerant can only go through it in one direction. But with just a little bit of extra piping and a special valve, you can change the direction it flows through the rest of the system. Virtually the only difference between this mini-split unit and the central air conditioner next to it, aside from the variable speed compressor and a few other particulars, is that the mini-split has a reversing valve and its associated piping. This allows refrigerant to flow in the opposite direction, and that flips the entire system on its head. Remember how in cooling mode the restriction was just before the evaporator? High-pressure liquid refrigerant built up right before it entered this space at the capillary tube. It would then evaporate in this coil once it made it through because the pressure in here was quite low. But if refrigerant is going the other way, well, now the restriction is at the end of this coil. High-pressure liquid refrigerant will build up inside of here, turning this into the condenser where the refrigerant will reject latent heat. Once it makes it through, it finds itself on its way back outside in a low-pressure environment where it will boil and absorb latent heat from the air. That makes the outside unit the evaporator. Take a look. Here, the mini-split is operating in cooling mode. The inside unit is the evaporator, absorbing heat, and the outside unit is the condenser, rejecting it. This is how we expect air conditioning to work. But switch it into heating mode, and after a few minutes of idle time to allow the pressures to equalize, the reversing valve switches the direction of the refrigerant flow, and the roles become reversed. When the compressor starts up again, the outside unit becomes the evaporator, absorbing heat in the refrigerant, and the inside unit becomes the condenser, rejecting that heat and warming the space. In a sense, it's air conditioning the outside air and using the heat collected from that process to warm the space. Here's why this is a big deal. The actual work being done here is compressing a gas. Yeah, a little energy is being used by the fans, but nearly all the electrical energy this unit consumes goes into the electric motor which drives the compressor. The refrigerant changes phases in a natural, spontaneous process. We just create the right conditions for that to occur. Because of this heat pump is able to move up to 5.5 times as much heat energy as it actually consumes in electricity. That's frankly amazing. It's like running 5 space heaters for the cost of 1. And why does it work even when it's cold outside? Well, remember that heat energy always wants to spread out. And also remember that the boiling point of refrigerants is very, very cold at low pressures. So long as you can get the evaporator colder than the air around it, it will be able to capture heat energy as the refrigerant boils. Here, the ambient temperature was about 40 degrees, but the evaporator coil is much colder than that, so it becomes a place ambient energy wants to go. Once the refrigerant is compressed and brought to the inside unit, it will condense and release that acquired energy, which warms the space. It doesn't matter that the outside air has less energy in it than inside. All we're doing when we heat or cool a room is affect energy concentration in that room. The outside air may have a lower energy concentration, But the refrigerant's energy concentration can be made even lower than that. That's all it takes. Make a region colder than another, and heat energy will always flow into the colder one. Since the refrigerant will hold on to that energy and release it when it condenses, just compress it to raise its boiling point, move it inside, and boom, heat from the cold. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The trickiest thing
I was
about
going to
heat
say,
pumps
it's like,
like
it can't be
this,
that
this is known
simple.
as an air source heat pump, is that as it gets colder outside, their effectiveness is reduced. The coefficient of performance, or COP, describes how much heat energy the heat pump moves compared to how much it consumes. A COP of 1 is bad. That's just a 1-to-1 ratio, the same as resistive heating. But a COP of 4 is easily attainable under decent conditions. That's pretty much any time it's a few degrees above freezing. Once you're close to freezing though, well, there's a complication. You probably know that an air conditioner removes moisture from inside your home. This happens because the evaporator's cold surface causes water in the air to condense on it. Well, if the evaporator is outside, then it's probably going to collect some moisture. It does. Now, that actually helps with heating since water releases latent heat when it condenses. But if it's close to or below freezing outside, well, that water turns to ice once the heat pump has gobbled up its heat energy. Over time, heat pumps like this build up a coating of frost on the outside unit. How quickly this happens depends a lot on environmental conditions. If it's a dry day, it'll happen slowly, but if it's humid, it happens pretty fast. And this reduces its effectiveness. Not only does ice on the coils provide a layer of insulation, which slows the process of scavenging heat from the air, but eventually the ice impedes the airflow through the coil entirely by filling the gaps between the fins. How do we deal with this? Well, it's actually pretty easy. You can defrost the coil simply by briefly reversing the refrigerant flow. That will melt the frost that's built up at the expense of pulling a little energy back outside. Since this unit has no other means of defrosting, it has to do it fairly cleverly. Sensors help it determine when it needs to defrost. A huge benefit of the unit being self-contained like this is that it knows both the inside and outside temperature, and by monitoring refrigerant pressures, it can determine how well it's working. Observe here that prior to defrosting, it kept increasing the speed of the compressor to counteract the slowing effects of the ice.
Okay.
Eventually, though, it decides to defrost. When it defrosts, it first stops the compressor and then stops both fans. That makes sure it doesn't blow cold air inside and allows the outside coil to get hotter.
DF,
It
so
then restarts
defrost,
the
okay,
compressor
that
in
makes sense.
cooling mode, once again turning the outside coil into the condenser. The heat it's pulling from inside quickly melts the ice.
I was going to say, you noticed this is only sped up to 8 times. Whenever we were watching it freezing, it was sped up to 64 times. So it's defrosting way faster than it frosted up. That's actually really impressive how quickly it does it.
Once it's concluded that it's done, it stops, reverses the refrigerant flow again, and starts the outdoor fan and compressor to begin collecting heat once more. But it waits to turn the indoor blower back on until the inside coil has warmed up a bit. To the user, a defrost simply seems like a pause in heating, but as you've seen, it's actually much more complicated than that. However, this reduces its efficiency and ultimately its effectiveness. On cold, humid days, it has to defrost rather frequently, limiting its output and reducing efficiency. How do we measure its efficiency? Well, because this is the US, we use weird units like SEER and HSPF. This unit has a SEER of 19, which is pretty great actually. That's equivalent to a COP of 5.5. But the seasonal energy efficiency ratio describes cooling. Its HSPF, heating seasonal performance factor, is 10. Luckily, we can convert that to the COP, and that means this thing's average coefficient of performance for heating is, at least according to how it's tested, 2.9. So over a typical heating season, you can expect this to deliver almost 3 times as much heat energy as it costs to run. Some days it'll be better, others worse. Over time, though, it would need roughly a third the electricity of a plain resistive heater to produce the same amount of heat. But there's a catch. This thing is only rated to work down to 5 degrees. Now, it will work below that temperature. In fact, here's some footage I made when it was 10 below zero.
Oh my goodness, it's cold out here. Like, it's dangerously cold out here, especially to be standing in front of it, blowing colder than ambient air at me. Yeah, so I'm gonna go inside.
I know this is a terrible tool for this job, but it's what I had. It was still running and producing some heat, but to be fair, it was pretty tepid. It was also running its guts out, so its coefficient of performance in this scenario may have been just 1, or maybe slightly better. This particular heat pump just isn't equipped to handle weather this cold. Which, to be clear, is fine for me. This thing is in my garage and the heating is mostly a bonus. I installed it mainly to remove moisture because summers here are stupid humid. Seriously, I left the leather seats from my family's old minivan in here my first summer, and by the fall, they were completely covered in mold.
Oh.
Some other stuff got damaged too, so if I wanted to keep anything in here of value, air conditioning was practically a must. But it certainly is handy on milder winter days to be able to use this as a workspace. When it's above freezing, the air this thing blows is proper hot. Like, it genuinely surprised me. In retrospect, it shouldn't have. 18,000 BTU is more than 3 US spec space heaters. But knowing that the heat it produces is coming from outside makes that feel almost like magic. And even when it's colder and not that efficient, it has a freeze protection mode that keeps the temperature at 45 degrees, which is enough to melt the snow off my car after a drive, and, well, that is a very nice luxury, I'll tell you that. I usually leave it in that mode. However, it's true that on its own, this could not reliably provide me with sufficient heat throughout the winter. I would need a backup heat source when conditions weren't ideal for a heat pump. That's often electric resistive heating, which will always work but needs a ton of energy to do so. But it could also be natural gas or another fuel. In whole home systems with heat pumps, the backup heat is often called emergency heat or auxiliary heat, and many thermostats are designed to control these systems as one. But even in my climate, on many days, a heat pump would be all I need. In fact, that's the case for the vast majority of the winter. It's not actually all that often that it dips below 5 degrees here. And still, some heat pumps like this are rated down to 20 below zero. It's extremely rare for it to get colder than that here. Heat pumps can be made to work in colder temperatures through different refrigerants, altered designs, or through electric defrost coils where the outside unit has dedicated heaters to allow it to defrost while still operating in heating mode. But let's set aside those potential fixes. Here's a question I've been asking a lot lately. Why isn't this thing also a heat pump? This HVAC system isn't even 2 years old, but no one even bothered giving me the option for a heat pump. Yes, it's cold enough where I live that a gas-fired furnace is the norm, but I've got 95% of a reversible heat pump sitting right here. This 2.5-ton air conditioner may only be able to put out half of what my furnace can with its fire tubes, but on mild days, so the ones a heat pump would be best at, that's more than I need anyway. Heck, even when it was minus 10 outside, my 70,000 BTU furnace only ran for about 10 hours a day. 30,000 BTU continuously would have covered that. But yes, I know that output wouldn't have been possible at that ambient temperature. I'm just spitballing here. And it's not like heat pump systems are unheard of in my neck of the woods. In fact, a patron of the channel has one, and they're actually a little farther north than I am. This outdoor unit is practically the exact same thing as the condensing unit for my AC system, save for the reversing valve and a more complicated compressor setup. It functions exactly as the mini-split does, doing the same periodic reversing to defrost. I mean, there's snow on the ground, yet it's still working. Since this is almost the exact same machine as mine, it annoys me endlessly that reversibility isn't just standard at this point.
Yeah,
In
I was
fact,
gonna
in
say,
the
I wonder
South,
why it
reversible
isn't.
heat pumps in this form factor are pretty common and have been for years. Since heating demand is usually mild, if any, in the South, relatively few folks have natural gas for heating. When you're all electric and have air conditioning, you might as well have a heat pump to save money on heating costs. And since all it really takes is a reversing valve and a few other particulars to make that happen, I see it as a no-brainer. Well, usually. When a large disruptive weather event takes hold that causes an entire region to suddenly need resistive heat because it's too cold for their heat pumps to work effectively, that can put an untenable strain on the electric grid. When this video was published, Texas had just gone through one of these extreme events. Heat pumps certainly were not the cause of the grid failures, to be clear, as a lot of issues occurred on the generation side of things, and based on what I've read, natural gas backup heat is more common than I thought. But the occasional need for an energy-intensive backup heat source is good to keep in mind. But so far, we've just been talking about air source heat pumps. These are definitely the most common because, well, they're easy and simple to make. But there are other sources of heat to be tapped into. And heat pump technology is finding itself in more and more places as we discover the benefits of moving heat rather than creating it. In part 2, we'll look at some of these solutions and discuss where heat pumps have to go from here. We'll also look at some cost-benefit comparisons, both from a financial perspective and from a climate change perspective. And that's a key reason heat pumps will undoubtedly see more widespread use as time goes on. I said earlier that with a coefficient of performance of 2.5, you'll get more heating out of a heat pump than you would burning natural gas on site. Let me explain that. In 2019, the average efficiency of a natural gas power plant in the US was 44%, according to the Energy Information Administration. Now, if you run electric resistive heat from this source of energy, after transmission losses you'll end up getting about 40% of the energy out of the natural gas. Not bad, but you can also burn natural gas in an on-site furnace and get more than 90% of the energy out of it. It's for that reason that areas like mine tend to have natural gas infrastructure capable of delivering it directly to homes. Historically, it's been cheaper, easier, and more efficient. But when a heat pump is running at a COP of 2.5, sure, you're still only getting 40% of the energy from the natural gas, but with it, you're moving 2.5 times that amount. That means that in the end, you're getting the equivalent of 100% out of the natural gas, and you can get even more than that. A heat pump is frankly the most effective way to turn electricity into heat, so even on today's fossil-fired power grid, they're a wiser use of limited resources and can help lower emissions. And they also make renewable energy sources much more feasible in cold climates. While you certainly can use the output from wind or solar to heat your home resistively, that takes a lot of output and makes storage hard to manage. If everyone had very efficient heat pumps, that energy demand could be cut into a quarter or perhaps a little less. And while heat pumps like this struggle in cold weather, there is an alternative. The ground source, or geothermal heat pump, is a way to attain year-round, near-constant peak efficiency with heat pumps even in cold climates. And we'll talk about those, some other novel uses for heat pumps, as well as the need for more climate-friendly refrigerants in the next video. For now, stay warm.
Huh.
And
this was posted 3 years ago, so there's definitely more to this particular video. I wonder if he put the links.
now that we know what heat
Good. Just use old tech. Oh boy, wasabi. I mean, there's definitely certain techniques that we have known in the past on how to do some of this stuff that we've largely forgotten. But it's one of those things, like, we're learning again. That being said, now I'll stop assaulting everyone with the nerd stuff for a little bit. We'll watch some idiots at work now. We got about 1 more hour until Rico should be going live. And then we'll go raid him and play some Space Marines with him.
It's like watching Mitt and Mutt work around here. Oh! Yeah, I know you're gonna drop now.
Yep, you overloaded it, bro. It was too much. That, I'm not gonna say what that sounded like. That sound that he just made. Because I'd get accused of some stuff, but it did sound like it. Also, nice. Okay, I don't think this is an idiot at work. This is just a guy having a laugh. Nice. Battle Brother, not to be confused with Diesel Brothers. I mean, fair. Ooh, nice. Good job, bud.
Вот эта бочка. Это самый супер септик, ребятки.
Septic was the only word I understood there. Huh. What? Huh? Oh! Oh! Oh no! Good Lord Almighty. That's what you get. He's just lucky he didn't bust anything. He's surrounded by stuff that's expensive. Ooh, nice. Oh. I don't know why you walked close to it. Idiot. Oh. Oh no.
Just in case something goes wrong, it's gonna be on fail army. It's the funniest thing in the world.
That hurt. You were wondering when trains are gonna get roof windows? I mean... Oh. Oh, that got a gun in it. I don't know what just fell off there. Oh. Oh. Nice.
Alright.
That could have been worse.
Out the window.
Ooh. It's never a good thing when you see the hammer coming back. Ooh, why you got... You don't look old enough to have... Okay, maybe he is old enough, or... I don't know, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. That man could be in his 20s, he could be in his 50s, I have no clue.
Get ready to bail.
Get ready to bail, yep. Nice. Ooh, they just keep going. Every last bottle's gotta fall. Oh.
Oh my
Sat next to a 46-year-old woman that looked like she was in her 20s. Yeah, some people, like, you know, some people you can instantly tell what their age is looking at them. And then there's, every now and then, someone you'll encounter is simultaneously, it's like, you could be in your 20s, or you could be pushing 60. And I can't tell, because you look like both. And those are the worst ones, because it's always a situation where you're like, I don't know how to approach this. There's no good way to approach it. Ooh, nice. Uh-oh. 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 Good Lord Almighty.
Okay,
thank goodness
I'm
that thing had
right
that
now,
frame around it.
Dave's downtown is doing drone delivery, and the drone is literally coming up to my window with the food. No! Oh, dude, that was like $14.
Yeah, that was never gonna work out without like inbuilt stuff for it. I don't know what they thought. Entering your 20s but sound like a teen in the early 20s type. Entering your 30s. Okay, I see what you're saying. You're entering your 30s but sound like a teen to early 20s type. Oh no.
Oops.
That man not wearing shoes. You sound younger than me? I mean, fair. I don't know how people interpret my voice on if I sound my age or not. Ooh, nice. Ooh, oh god, he fell out of the vehicle. I'm just glad he didn't go under the vehicle. It looked like he was going to go under his mail truck there for a minute, and that would have been just the most unfortunate way to go out. Sound like a 30s rugged male to you? Is that so? I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take that as a compliment. Ooh, nice. Oh, did you touch the battery a little bit too hard there, bud? You poked the balloon? Don't poke those balloons. Everybody here, if you're ever messing with a phone and you come across the battery and you see the little like foil balloon, don't poke that thing. Don't touch that thing if you can help it. Like, I limit interaction with that as much as you can because it will explode. It is a mini grenade. Uh-oh. Yep. That's gonna come out of your paycheck, bud.
Look, I'm just trying to drop your packages off on the front porch. Let me make it. I'm just trying to drop. It may be something for you. It may be something for you, man. Hold on.
I don't know how you get scared by a dog that small. Even if it was trying to kill you. Like, if it's life... That's a Chihuahua. By the look of it.
I'm just trying to drop.
Or a Chihuahua mix of some sort. It's something. It's tiny. If that dog had to kill you, if its entire life depended on killing a grown human, it would not be able to. And this man out here panicking. I'm like, dude.
It may be something for you, man. Hold on.
Look at that little thing. It's a rat. It's not gonna kill you. Hello, Ryan. Welcome in. Also, that had to hurt. He's just gonna walk it off, though. Ooh.
We up.
Yeah, you did. You messed up. You messed up real bad. I hope that the client didn't want that roof intact, because if they did... Okay, I don't know what are in the boxes. It could be something relatively light, and that's why he thought he could stop it before it fell. But I'm not gonna lie, all that flashed through my mind is this should be a live leak video. The moment he put his hands up to try to stop it, I was like, whatever's in those boxes, if it weighs enough, that man died just now, but I can only assume whatever was in it. Oh my god. Okay, that reminds me. Have you seen the one where it's the guy that, he was working with a saw, and the saw blade snapped like that, and buried itself in the faceplate he was wearing? Stopped less than an inch from his face, because it was launched at high speed. If you've ever seen that video, then you know what I'm talking about, and you know the fear that comes from seeing that, where you're just like, oh good god, that man almost died. This man almost got severely hurt. Ooh.
I know it.
So we decided to put a...
Replace your saws, yep.
On the exhaust of the lad from work, he's got no clue.
Uh-oh.
See what happens.
Ooh. Well, At least that's just a mess. That could be worse. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Nice. Uh-oh, that's too tall, bud. Oh no! Oh no! Good God. Ads here. I will pause the video until the ads are done. In fact, we'll even back it up. You're back? Alright. Oh. You missed. Oh no. What is that?
Oh, shoot.
Oh, shoot. That thing just smacking all of them. Oh, hi there. That's a bear. Oh no, wait, hold on. Are those fish? It's stealing the fish. You've been robbed. I don't understand why she panicked like that, but okay. Ooh. Get the fire extinguisher, bud. Just smacked him in the side of the head. Oh. Huh.
Yeah, I heard it.
That's hilarious. That one's funny.
Making his back cut in this big oak tree top, and then we're gonna be done for today.
Oh no. Well. Oh. That's not supposed to happen. That's, Lady, what are you doing? No, wait, is that a dude? That's a dude. You deserve that for acting gay like that, bud. You deserve falling over like that. That's what you get for acting stupid. What a jerk. Just tossing that man's package. What a punk. I hope he lost his job. Ooh.
Nice! That is legend. Wait for it. Daring.
Oh no. Oh no. I like that they thought that having an old Jim Bob on the back would be enough to offset the weight. My man, if it's enough to flip this thing, I don't think, like, maybe 200 pounds at most is going to make that much of a difference. If this thing's going to not be able to lift that, it's not going to be able to lift that, even if Jerry's hanging off the back like that. That's not going to make that much difference, bud. I don't know why you'd have the photographer in a dress like that. I feel like if you're there as a photographer... Wait, oh. That dude... I don't know what was going on there. Oh, hey, look, it's dancing. It's called fall. Yep. At least it's just glass. All you have to do is put it back into the kiln and reheat it. It'll be good. I've seen this one. This one amuses me every time. That guy's having a great time. That being said, be careful about turning the thing too many times. They are literally just screwed onto the... You will eventually rotate the cab off. But how do you not... I don't know how he didn't know that he was doing that, but... Yeah, that's not gonna work, bud. Nice. Good plan, bud. Really, what a... What a piece of work he is, huh? I hope that guy lost his job. What a jerk. Oh.
Just snap. You snap something.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, there goes the wires. At least it didn't, like, cut any of them, it looked like. It looked like all the wires were still intact, so the grid might not have had an issue with that other than just the short term.
Papa? Oh no! Oh no! Oh yeah!
That's why you cut the branches first? Yep, that's why you cut the branches first. Oh, it's one of the phones. I was wondering what was going on here. But I don't think you're doing very much. You're too much of you're too close. The angle ain't gonna work. You're just launching water over it. Here comes FedEx. Ooh, nice. That's gonna... Don't run, bud. Okay, he's not running. What are you... I hope you lost your job. Every time I see something like that, when someone's treating a package like that, you don't know what's in there. You don't know how much that is. Like, dude, that... I hope you lose your job if you're doing that with a package.
Oh my god, is he okay?
You alright there, bud? Your pride hurting more than anything else, I'd imagine? Uh-oh. Don't throw it into that laptop screen. That's not any better. But you know what? I guess actually it is better. Let's be honest. Unless that... Well, no, because hold on. These both look like they're Mac. And if they are Mac, there's a possibility this is a Mac. And if this is a Mac, that might be the entire computer. There might not be a tower. If that's what it is, then crap. You just smoked the entire computer. If that was just a monitor, you're probably okay. Like, it could be worse. Ooh. Bud, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's a tree. You can't stop it. Get out of the way.
Seriously? 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 You gonna stand there on the food with your boots? And I'm filming that. Oh, did you watch it?
No, you wash it.
Okay, now you gonna kick it? Okay, that's bad. That's the cookie. Please don't buy nothing.
Uh-oh. At least that looks like those are ladders or something.
Get this down spot off. I need some help.
It's on there pretty solid, bud. Oh, there it goes. Oh, you drove into the wet cement. Nice. That's what happens when you don't pay attention, bud. Nice. That was very elegant, sir. I'm glad you saved time by taking a step back rather than turning around and walking. Sir, you are concerning me. Oh!
His head's on fire.
It was a good try. Oh, nice, nice. We got another FedEx driver out here, just chucking packages. Definitely from Utah. Yeah, I don't get what he meant by that. I don't know if there's something about Utah I don't know. With them having their heads on fire, maybe, but... But you are...
Блядь, там же зря он так, зря, все, еде, пиздец.
I recognized 2 words that man said. Neither of them are words I would repeat on the stream, but... Oh. Good job. Good job, wedding photographer. Oh. You know he's never gonna live that down. Everyone on that side. That man's gonna go to a new job. No one's ever gonna let him live that down. Oh, ooh, nice. Ooh, nice. Uh-oh. He didn't let go, he just went with it. Ah. What's more important, the hurricane or the clothes? Now what's more important, the clothes or the food? Therefore, deliver food during hurricane. Your basic pay shall be added on for... Huh? What's going on, Wasabi? I'm confused. What's happening here? Ooh, nice. Oh, because of the one... Okay, I see. I get you.
To your right. No, to your right. Brakes.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, indeed. You didn't do a very good job getting that over the fence there, did you, bud? That was a Ford truck? Yeah, it looked like a Ford truck. Oh. Hold up. Wait a minute. Does anyone else realize and notice a potential security issue? These are attached to this, and that's all it took to take that off. My man, your door wasn't gonna stop nobody. If that main lock didn't stop an intruder, you were done for. Cause you just ripped all of that off on accident. Who signed off on this? This is why you don't put this fake stuff around the edge of a primary door. Cause that is a major security flaw. You just tore like 3 security devices off. Aww. I think that Jeep's missing some stuff.
Here we go again. Here we go again.
Ooh, nice. That's funny. Not gonna lie. Oh. You do not get your trash can back. Someone threw away a phone. They threw away their pager. Oh no, that is a real expensive car to have gotten stuck out there, bud. Oh. nice. Nice. Good job. That serves you right. Dressing like that and acting like this. Also deserved for pole dancing. Also deserved for whatever that was supposed to be. All y'all out here acting like hoes, you deserve the consequences of your actions. Yeah, electric trucks, they got a ways to go. Oh. Oh! He hit him with the counter. Oh! Did you microwave that? You microwaved it. Okay, that was funny, I won't lie. Very vain of you, but hilarious, I'll give it. Oh! Oh, no. Well. Hopefully it's not hollow and we fall through, and then it was... Oh. Oh. Nice. You asked that way too late.
Style this.
Style that. Good job, bud. Oh. Rebozo got some pizza, I see. Ooh, nice. 2 trucks in a row on fire. Yep, you'd gotten way less wet if you had just walked through normal, Black Bud. Ooh. Nailed the landing. Oh, the good boy found the biggest of stick. Oh no, it's a rat. It's like she's never operated a motorized vehicle in her life. Oh.
No!
I don't know why you were trying. I don't know why she thought she could save it at that point. There was no. Oh, no. Oh, that's fun. That man's gonna be dizzy and a little bit sore.
No, why? Oh!
Oh. Well, that's not good. Ooh.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh. Uh-oh. That truck not looking so good. Nice. Oh, nice. Oh no, you acting a fool. Nope. Oh. It would appear someone hit a fire hydrant. If you need a car wash, there you go. Why is... Okay, I thought his window was down for a minute. I was like, what are you doing, bud? Oh. That was ambitious. That one deserves their job taken away. Fire that man and make him pay for any damages. Oh no! Ooh. What? It just ended. That was the cut. I don't know what happened.
Oh boy.
Ooh,
Another
nice.
day.
Another
Bro.
day.
All right.
That didn't help very much, did it? Perfect cut videos. I know, right? They cut that at the exact moment. That was great. Ooh, nice. What you got attached to you there, but oh.
Okay, one more. Last one.
Oh no, what is this? There must be some context there, like an inside joke or something. I have no clue why that was all covered in tinfoil. Ooh, nice. Oh, straight into the pool. Foiled again.
Ow, 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 ow.
The child has been annihilated by the ocean.
Are you okay,
Ooh, nice, nice. That's good, that's good. Yeah, right there. Exactly where they wanted that. What are you doing? Dumb and dumber out there. Man, she didn't even try to grab her child. She just left her kid to die. Oh, Oh. He ate the. He's trying to eat it, tray and all.
Me.
You did not train that dog very well.
Ow! Ow!
Ooh. Did the drone just get taken out by one of the birds? Or what was that? It was one of the birds. Nature defeating machine also. Did that just smash that? I think that smashed the windshield too. Nice. Flew it straight into his stomach. Oh god.
That's a really big nut.
There are nose hair trimmers, y'all. You don't have to do it that way. Also, what? I don't know what that all was, but that was really dumb. And I'm glad that one of them at least suffered some kind of a consequence. Hopefully they learned from it.
That guy fell in.
That guy fell in. Ooh, nice. Good stuff. Good stuff. You love to see it. Ooh. Oh. That had to hurt. That really had to hurt. Might need a belt, bud. Oh.
Dude, what? Holy
Huh. I ain't never seen that before.
He's going in circles.
And he lost his slippers. That's unfortunate. What on earth is that thing? Aye. Right in the face. Yeah, with those colors, I'm not surprised. That flag on your shirt, I'm not surprised you messed something up that easy. Also, what was the idea with the gravy? What was going on? Oh, nice. Good job, kid. Uh-oh. Delivery. Delivery's here. Ooh, he's just gonna back out.
Where'd it go?
It went over you because you're stupid and don't know how to do a very simple task. Uh-oh. That was nice and pricey. Looked like a Midwest version of the keg challenge with gravy. I mean, it would be with gravy if it's from the Midwest. I could see it. Oh. It just keeps going. What you doing there, bud? Looking at dude out here looking like a meth head and riding like a meth head too.
Sarah Stewart, racing DP4. Oh.
Okay, if it doesn't work out.
Why was that her reaction? Oh, you almost had it, bud.
Sanity.
I don't know why you'd walk right under that spot. You saw it coming down harder there. Why didn't you just go around? That's all you had to do. Nice. Uh-oh. Oh. Oh my god. Ah. That was fun. At least he didn't fall too far.
Dude. You
okay?
Serious?
Sheesh, yeah, that's certainly one way to put it, bud. Sheesh. Alright, we're gonna put this one on. I'm gonna go see if Rico is ready. Getting the kids to bed. He's almost done. All right, so we should be getting started around the normal time. So we'll chill and watch this dude set this up for a bit. 30 days solo camping in the rain. I don't know if any of you are like me and have any interest in bushcraft, but I always find these immensely interesting to watch. Not gonna lie, I almost just snapped at my own bot. I thought that was a random bot getting in here and posting a link to something, then I read it a little bit more and I was like, oh wait, hold on. That's one of mine. I almost had a blue on blue. There's just been so many bots the last few days this week, like, I'm on guard against them. We've banned like 20 of them over the course of just this week. It's kind of crazy. I've never seen so many. Not in such a short period of time. Aw, I like that the dog's helping. He's assisting in the digging. Or he was.
Some of them do on a dang old human man. Boy, I tell you what, I get a goddamn superhuman, innovative, animated dang old rubber, so that anything you say is ricocheting back at you, man. Devastating more than ever, demonstrating how to get a dang old audience a feeling like a slut egg. Faded like a farmer's tan, man, I tell you what. Here's getting worked up, complain, hot like propane, boom, how we're spitting them facts, man, spinning them rhymes like a dang old tornado, jib-jabbing like it just ain't no thing. Why be a god and not a dang old king?
Well, howdy, faithful. Get shouted out. I don't know why you're rioting. You knew this would happen. You knew that you were going to get shouted out. Okay, wait, hold on. Where's the shout out? Why didn't it? That's not right. 1 second, let me check something. It was working earlier today. Here, I'll unpause the video, but I'm looking at something on my end, trying to figure out why it didn't play that. Because it knows it's supposed to. Yeah, it should have played. I don't know why it didn't. I'll have to look into that. I'm gonna have to look and see what's going on with Frosty, why it didn't play that time later. Because it shoulda. Anywho, welcome in, faithful. I hope that you are doing well, my friend. I hope that you are prepared for tomorrow. Starting at noon tomorrow? Not likely. So tomorrow we're going to have an actually relatively late start now that I'm realizing it, because I didn't think about it. I've got 2 appointments tomorrow. Medical appointments. And then in the evening we'd be collabing with Rico. So it wouldn't be until probably 4 p.m. my time. If that still works for you, faithful. I forgot all about that, to be entirely honest. I forgot I had those medical appointments, because those are tied to my my newest round of trying to get the VA to bump it up. 3 p.m. your time? Yes, I believe so. That sounds about right. Am I starting with reading? I mean, yeah, unless you want me to adjust things around for the timing, I guess. Yes, we're starting a new tavern in the tavern keeping game, and they've actually had a pretty big update since the last time we played. They introduced the city update, so I don't know what that'll translate to with the game, but just trying to figure out the timing for yours. Okay, okay. So that'd be the plan. Because I'm, like I said, those appointments I do have to go to because they are, they're tied to the newest round of trying to get the VA to increase my stuff. That's, some interesting implications there, Faithful. I don't think I'm going to groom the VA. That is not on my list of things to do. I get what you're saying. I know what you were trying to say, but it's funny. I know that I have a few hundred stream. I know I've got some followers now, but I don't think that raises me to that level of celebrity status where I need to, where the impulse to do that suddenly apparently always happens because every one of them's gotten caught lately recently. It's kind of crazy. We can't go 5 minutes without there being another news story about someone. And you're just like, oh. What's going on, guys? What's happening? Cease with the karaoke stuff. Yeah, he's definitely trying. I just ignore him at this point. Also, I'm digging this guy's little shelter so far. No love, huh? Is that what you're going with? Is that the story you're flying with now? Interesting. Interesting. I'd be careful about having that rock get too hot there, bud. Now that it's all nice and soaked. Don't want that thing to pop. Of course, I forget if that's only if it's mostly dry, but then its internals are wet. I can't remember. I just know that sometimes if you heat up a rock, if it's got moisture in it, sometimes they, like, explode. Because it doesn't know what to do with itself. That dog's eating good. Butter rock, indeed. Butter rock. Rock with the butter. The tastiest of rocks. I don't like that you've cooked that well done, but you're just gonna move out to the woods and live as a hermit. I mean, I'm not gonna finish that sentence. We're just gonna leave it there. Wasabi. Oh, big stretch from the dog there. Oh boy, had some tacos, did ya? Oh, I'm glad that they have satisfied your needs for food. Though I won't lie, now it makes me want some tacos. Yeah, the dog is definitely extremely fluffy. I don't know what breed he is, but... he's been very helpful for his dad, though. Look at all the digging he's done. What a good boy. Well kept, definitely. Akita Inu, maybe? Yeah, I could see it. I'm surprised his fur looks as good as it is with him being out there like this. Which does make you wonder, are they like off video? Are they gone like home in between this occasionally? Or is this all... because it says that this is a 30-day solo survival camping in rain, but, you know. It's hard to always trust someone saying something like that on a YouTube video. There's not really any proof to back their claim up. But it could also just be that it's one of those types of coats that keeps clean quite well. Some dogs just have a really good coat type for it. Oh, good. I see that he has gone live. So, I appreciate you all hanging out. It has been a good time. I have enjoyed myself. That being said, if you want to see some more shenanigans, where you're going to go raid into Rico's End and join him for some purging of the Xenos and the heretic. However, I shall see you all shortly. If you're not sticking around, then I shall see you again soon. I appreciate you all being here. God bless you. Stick around for that raid.
Ow, 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 ow. I gotta turn to Swiss cheese.
I've got an idea.
Yeah, I was...
Orbital Prime Command, this is Tarshish Alpha. I've located the enemy base, preparing to extract the snacks. Frickin' squeak.